Y'all, it's 2025 and some of y'all still don't know how to act about fictional characters. Hey, it's Allie. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. I get on Twitter and it's still the same old shit. Fandom as a concept has been around longer than you and I have probably been alive, and yet, for some reason, no one can put together a comprehensive list of rules for people to follow in the way that they should be acting online. And definitely because of 2020 and the rise of like everyday average people getting into anime and other types of fandoms, I have taken it upon myself to not do that. I don't know who you thought I was. I'm not the arbiter of all things, but I did ask you guys what your fandom icks were, and maybe us together we can put together a little bit of a guidelines for people to follow coming into the next year, because some of y'all really do not know how to act. If at any time you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe, because I make videos like this all the time. If you want to know how I got your responses, I sent out a form here on YouTube and of course all of my social media. So if you want to be a part of the next one, go ahead and hit that bell, because I put it up in my community tab, or follow me on any of my social medias. I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm also on TikTok if you want to follow me there, I guess. I don't know. And of course, if I miss any, comment down below your fandom icks. If you have anything to say about any of the fandom icks here, let me know down in the comments below, and hey, let's jump into it. So you guys know that headcanons like aren't canon, right? Right? Like, it's kind of in the name, you know, head canon, not like author canon. Like, you guys know that you're not the author, right? Some of y'all really don't know that, apparently. Like this person said, when people think their headcanons are canon, it's really annoying. And while yes, there are heavily agreed upon headcanons that a lot of people within the fandom can agree upon, and like it's basically things that are like almost canon. Of course, we'll talk about coding later. That does not make it canon, guys. Which of course this can then lead to mischaracterization. And this gets real bad, so much to the point that when a character then does something in canon that goes against the generalized headcanon for this character, people will be up in arms talking about how the author of the series mischaracterized their own character. Now, don't get me wrong, I completely understand the idea that sometimes an author can do something that seems out of character. The established lore that you've made for this character, it can seem out of character for that, especially if the author doesn't really know what they're doing, or if they're trying to verge into a specific direction for this character. Voltron. But outside of that, a lot of y'all seem to be like just okay with bagging on an author because they decided to make the character do something that you personally in your head think that the character shouldn't do. Please. Luffy is also a character that comes to mind with this. It is heavily agreed upon, not by everybody, but a lot of people in the One Piece fandom, that Luffy is asexual. He is very much so coded to be. Again, we'll get to coding later. And a lot of people, myself included, sometimes agree that Luffy is asexual. However, that does not mean that it's canon, just because it was never explicitly stated by the author or anybody else that he is asexual. So it is a headcanon. It is a well agreed upon headcanon, but a headcanon nonetheless. And so why on earth do I see people jumping on other people when people make ship art with Luffy and other characters? First of all, this happens when it's not even like sexual in nature as well. Like they'll get on people for just like Luffy holding hands with somebody, and it's like, first of all, do y'all know that asexuality isn't just like you being an amoeba that can't feel any attraction or anything towards anybody? It's like a lot of things. Asexuality is a spectrum, and along that spectrum are many different things. Please pick up a book. But also, the fact that you're coming after other artists for making fan art or fan fiction or whatever, depicting Luffy in a different way than what's going on in your head is crazy. That's crazy. However, on the flip side of this, we have seen people on the extreme other end get mad at people for just having headcanons at all in the first place. Like when people hate on fan fiction and fan art because it's not canon. Or, as this user so eloquently put, people who come into your sandbox get mad at the way you play and try to destroy your sandcastle just to prove that theirs is way better. Unfortunately, on the extreme opposite ends, we can never find a happy medium, okay? You either hate all headcanons in all of their forms, or you think that your headcanon is the best and nobody should think otherwise, including the author themselves. In 2025, can we please find a good happy medium and find our peace? find our zen in what we love and what we love to see out of characters, okay? I love Luffy. I have a gajillion different headcanons for Luffy, and they all contradict each other. I have headcanons where Luffy is like your average, typical, like, young adult male, if you know, you know, and then I have some that are like Luffy being asexual, Luffy, like, caring about certain things, not caring about certain things. I have headcanons that conflict with each other, and that's fine, because number one, it's fictional, and number two, it's headcanon, and they don't have to really make sense. I have a bunch, and if I were to list them all out, some of them would probably contradict each other. They don't need to make sense because it's headcanon. I'm not writing the story. I can say whatever the fuck I want to say. And as long as I understand that that's not the actual canon, we should be fine. And you, as a person who is viewing fan fiction, fan art, if it's not your game, bro, if it's not you, it's not your taste, you don't like it, we need to learn how to block and move on. Not even block, sometimes just move on. If an artist that you follow suddenly draws something that you don't like, get the fuck out of there. Like, it's time to skedaddle. Like, leave. Like, oh my gosh, being on Twitter and TikTok during the height of My Hero Academia's popularity was truly, deeply something else. You had stan accounts being the most popular thing on there. More popular, in my opinion. I do not believe that a stan account that offers nothing to fandom should be more popular than someone making fan art or fan fiction. That's just my opinion. Because all you're doing is what I'm doing right now. Like, imagine if I just came up on here, added no benefit to anything, did not add any type of transformative work, and just showed a bunch of fan fiction and fan art and just was like, here it is. Maybe occasionally I'll give my opinion on it, but I'm just like, here it is. Imagine if I did that. No transformative work, no type of analysis, no nothing. These are what these stan accounts were doing. And because it was 2020, because we were all locked inside, I can attest to this. I followed a lot of different stan accounts to the point where it literally ruined Twitter for me. I had to, I think at some point in 2021, go through my entire following list and unfollow. I think I was following over like 1,000 people at the time. I unfollowed almost like 300 people that were just stan accounts. And so all they were doing was blabbering and yabbering about the show in a way that like wasn't even not, like, it was mostly toxic, and I hated it, and it wasn't fun, and it made Twitter not fun. I mean, Elon Musk destroyed that eventually himself. Imagine your last name being Musk. I digress. But at the time I was like, this is not fun for me. I don't want to go on Twitter anymore. I don't want to be a part of this fandom right now. And I did it to myself, and it took myself. I had to do it myself. Take responsibility, for myself and my internet experience, and be like, I don't want to deal with this. So I unfollowed 300 fucking accounts that were stan accounts because they were offering nothing. Because you would have thought they wrote My Hero Academia themselves the way some of these people were acting. When large fan accounts try to control the entire fandom culture, even though certain behavior isn't wrong or harmful, they personally just don't like it, so they try to shame or guilt other people for having fun with it. Couldn't have said it better myself. And of course, that brings us to none other than ships. Now, like I said before, I think this is because of 2020 and a lot of general people getting into fandom spaces without really understanding what fandom spaces are or what different terms mean. For some reason, I don't know why, in this day and age, we are having a fundamental misunderstanding of what shipping is. Shipping two characters that were clearly never even meant for each other, and being toxic about it when it isn't canon. Now, I have a lot to say about the canonicity of ships, but number one, a lot of people ship people together that, should never probably be together in a million years. It happens. Now, being mad that that isn't canon is something that, uniquely, this person was talking about My Hero Academia specifically, was, uniquely a My Hero Academia thing. Never in my life have I ever seen anybody think that a ship was actually going to become canon in a shonen anime. A shonen anime. Let's be so for real. I think people really need to understand, again, the two extremes of this. Number one, most people, I shouldn't say nobody, because like I just said, My Hero Academia fandom, most people are not shipping people together for canonicity. You know how many ships I have in One Piece? I have so many ships in One Piece. But if any of those were to actually become canon, I don't think that any of them should become canon. Genuinely, I'm like, if any of those characters ever get with any of each other, on the Straw Hat crew, I would be upset. Genuinely, I'd be upset, because it would make no sense for the story for any type of romance, gay or otherwise, to be introduced into One Piece at this time. We are in the home stretch of One Piece. I know it doesn't seem like it, but we are in the home stretch of One Piece. And if randomly, out of nowhere, they're like, yeah, Luffy is in love with Zoro, or Luffy is in love with Nami, I would look at you, I would look at Oda like this. I have had this happen too many times. Looking at you, Naruto. Looking at you. Where at the end of a shonen, suddenly they're like, okay, yeah, and then the guy character and the girl character get together, because we need this so they can have children, so they can have this new show. My Hero Academia, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, My Hero Academia. But at no point when I ship characters, whether they be straight, gay, or otherwise, do I ever think that they are going to become canon. And I need people to understand, especially gay ships in a shonen anime, the likelihood of that becoming canon, we've gotten better over the years with LGBT representation in the shonen. Absolutely, definitely. My Hero Academia is actually a good example of that. However, the fact that you randomly thought that Bakugo and Deku were going to get together is like actually in canon, kind of insane. Like kind of insane. On the flip side, because I saw this in a couple of like replies to this comment, was that you also have to think about the people who are genuinely just being borderline homophobic, if not simply homophobic, for people just shipping Bakugo and Deku together, or any gay ship in that show at all. Like, there is a lot of people, especially a lot of general people who do not understand shipping, would be like, well, why are you shipping these two characters together? They're not going to get together. And then it quickly goes into like homophobic territory. It's really crazy. And so you may be asking yourself, so then why are you even shipping characters in the first place, knowing that they're never going to get together? Babe, it's called fun. Like, maybe you need to go research fandom history, but babes, people were shipping, like, if you want to get back to like the olden days, like one of the OG fandoms is Star Trek, and people were shipping Spock and that other guy whose name I forget, were like together like this since the olden days. And you know what? That shit paid off in the end. That shit paid off in the end. Like, go check in on the Star Trek fandom right now. Exactly. But it doesn't matter, because in a million years, they never thought their ship was going to become canon. They did not care, because it was fun and interesting to think about these characters in a different way, including romantic ways. It's just fun. Like, it's literally just fun. And again, if you're not harming yourself or others, and of course there is a limit, girl, there's a limit, because you know what I saw? I will never forget the day that I saw Froppy and Aizawa ship art. And at this point, you may be like, what? Like, and to make it legal, what they did was they aged up Froppy, but not in the sense that like, oh, Froppy is now Aizawa's age. They did it in the sense that like she eventually grew up and then graduated and then married Aizawa. Guys. When I tell you that, like, I wish I could scrub my brain of that. If I ever be God at the pearly gates and he's like, if there's anything you don't want to remember from this life, what is it? It's that. It's that. Because, girl, what are we doing? And of course, we have ship wars. Like, girly, Bakudeku, Kirubaku, it did not matter who you shipped. Girl, none of them were going to become canon. And like I said before, you can ship whoever you like within reason. Like I said, I wish I could scrape that Froppy and Aizawa art from my fucking eyeballs. Any dispute about two characters being siblings versus being a couple when their relationship isn't confirmed one way or the other in canon, like, guys, let's not get violent over headcanons, please. I absolutely agree. The way I would be like, yeah, those two are siblings, is if they actually grew up together. Like, did they grow up together? Were they raised by the same parent? Okay, then I would consider them siblings, right? That is and obviously blood siblings as well, obviously. But like, other than that, if you're just like, oh, I like their relationship together as platonic, that's okay. Like, the whole Victor and Jay shit, y'all, some of y'all were acting crazy in my comments in that video. It's okay if you think of Victor and Jace as completely platonic. That is okay. Girlie, that's fine. Other people don't, though. And that's also okay. Like, both can coexist at the same time. The way people were in my comments being borderline homophobic, trying to be all like, well, can't people just like ship them platonically? Yes, you can. I'm not saying you can't. If you're like, I only see Jace and Victor as like platonic dude bros, awesome, cool, love that for you. But there was also another person who was like, no, I ship them romantically because if my brother ever acted like that towards me, I'd scream and cry. And I think that's also very valid. When people shit on those who love ships that aren't canon, we know it won't happen. We just want to be Delulu and consume fan art and fan fiction in peace. Exactly. When characters / ships get boiled down to one aspect of their personality / relationship, also anti-shipper discourse, etc., etc. Absolutely. I think this is getting into more the content of the ship itself. I think that a lot of people will tend to woobify characters, and we'll get to that later on in here because some of y'all put that in here. Tend to woobify characters in ships. A lot of yaoi ships are like that, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day. Many people have made a video essay / real essays on why women, specifically straight women, will make gay ships and then pretty much have them adhere to heteronormative like standards, including including having one being like the small little frail little twink, almost as if they are a woman. There's so much like literal academic like research on that. Y'all should read it if you're interested and you wonder why that like happened, why Fujos exist and all that type of stuff. I implore you to go look it up. I implore you to not just sit there and say shit online and calling people out their name. I implore you to actually look it up because it's actually very interesting. But anyway, to get us into the next one, we have applying morality to subjective headcanons or opinions. Thinking of you're a racist slash homophobic slash all the other icks in the world, right? If you don't like this ship or if you do like that ship or yada yada yada. Trust me, been there. I've been online for too long, too early in my life, and I can absolutely understand, especially as someone who, you know, tends to peruse a little bit of a toxic ship every now and then. People are insane and don't know how to like, okay, I don't want to be like people who be like, oh, you don't know how to separate fiction from reality, but there's a line, right? There's a line, there's a clear line. Like, obviously we also have the whole sexualizing children in here. We'll get to that as well. There's a line for that. But if I ship a toxic ship, am I going to be like that in my real relationships? No, babes. No, the answer is no. But also at the same time, if you're sitting there liking lolicon, I am looking at you a little weirdly. You know, there is a line to it. So I'm not going to just sit here and make a blanket statement about anything because, like I said, there are usually like two extremes and no one can ever find the happy middle. Which brings us to reading comprehension. See my mouthwashing video if you want more about that. Reducing a character's importance slash personality to their ships, i.e. ignoring characters who don't have any romantic relationships or who are confirmed arrow slash ace, dumbing down characters' personalities into tropes, starting actual fights when someone doesn't personally care for their favorite ship. I have no problem with shipping, but to the extent of fandom experience, or at least shouldn't be, media can and should be engaged with beyond shipping. Also, when people get upset with others for reading into stuff, when I see a post where someone's pointing out how they theorize that two characters are connected because of etymology of their names or something like that, where it's super in-depth in research, I always see complaints of like, you're looking too much into this, nobody actually goes that deep about this stuff, etc., and it pisses me off. Like, firstly, any creative can tell you, but we absolutely do go that deep into stuff. And even if they don't, who cares? Fandom is supposed to be fun and interesting, and that's what theories are for. And this is one I would like to call the anti-intellectualism must be stopped. If you're in the book talk world, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This has been a hotly debated topic that has come to a head recently when a bunch of white women got on TikTok to say, oh, well, why is book talk being political? Books aren't political. Bro, when I tell you, every time I say that, I have to hold my head because it feels like I'm getting a brain tumor. We're not even going to talk about that. That's a whole different thing. If you don't believe that art slash books are political, I implore you to pick up a book. That is like my slogan at this point. Pick up a fucking book, and one that isn't just fairy fucking smut. Anyway, back to this though. What these people are saying, I absolutely agree. You can look no further than my mouthwashing video. There are multiple comments in the comments of my video saying that like, oh, it's not that deep, or oh, like you don't have to look that far into it, blah 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 blah. I'm like, what? I got a real comment that said, give me a break and let me enjoy this game without having to listen to some form of criticism. Huh? Like, what do we... This isn't like Marvel Rivals, you know, like this isn't like Marvel Rivals or Overwatch or NBA 2K. Okay, this game is specifically made to be analyzed. It's crazy to me that you're just like, why are you analyzing this? How dare you make me think critically? It's also a lot of projecting in those comments. Like any of the negative comments that I got in that video, which are few and far between, thank you so much. But the ones that I did get was a lot of projecting, either onto Jimmy of all people. Crazy work, or they were sitting here being mad about like the fact that they personally didn't think that deeply into this. And for my video, y'all know, I even said in my video, like, I am scratching the surface. I said very surface level things, and I know that, and I didn't say that I was doing anything else otherwise. There was a lot of other things that like people pointed out in the comments that I missed in my own like catches, and I already had watched and played through this game multiple times, and there were still some things that I missed that were deeper even below that surface, like the whole capitalism hellscape of it all I talked about. Like, I didn't have time to talk about that, but I know there's like a level deeper than that I wish I could have talked about, but I just didn't have the wherewithal to do so. And so I know that my video isn't even scratching that deep. And if you're getting hurt over me being like, y'all need to turn on your brains for a second for that very surface level stuff that I was saying in that video. Oh, and this happens all the times. I love One Piece theories. People sitting here saying that One Piece isn't political. Crazy. People saying that One Piece isn't that deep. Also crazy. Like, that's almost an insult to the author themselves. Like this person said in this comment, people do think about this. Creatives do think about this. They do think about the etymologies of their names. They do think about like the symbolisms of character design and the symbolisms of the things that characters say all the fucking time. Yes, they do. Like I'm so tired of this like anti-intellectualism that's coming. If you don't want to think that deep about a story, fine. I don't understand how you can go into mouthwashing and specifically as a game and be like, I'm not going to think that deeply about it. Crazy work. But if you're just like, I want to just engage with this media on a very surface level, that's fine. Don't come into my comment section being like, I'm being mad because you didn't want to look that deeper. And I'm like, guys, there's literally, if you even look just again a little bit of below the surface, you'll find like so much more about this game and shows and movies and everything. And people get mad at you. It's a lot of projecting because it's like, why are you mad at me for wanting to look deeper into this thing? Like, you don't have to, again, you don't have to engage with me. If you don't want to look that deeply into stuff, leave. That's what this channel is. We're analyzing shit. We're going too deep in. We're brain rotting over here. You don't want to do that. Don't be here. Like, it's crazy that people will go after other people for just having theories and being like, it's not that deep. It is though. I promise you it is. I promise you. And if it's not, like that person said, people are just having fun with it. If it's not that deep for like some of these other shows, like I like watching theories, and sometimes I look at these theories and I go, that's crazy. I don't think that's true. I think you're looking way too far into that. But I'm not going to go into their comment section and be like, you're stupid for looking deeply into this thing and the meaning of blah, blah, blah. No. It's crazy that people would do that, and it's entirely projection. People woobifying characters just because they have trauma. I despise when people infantilize characters and are like, they are such a sweet cinnamon roll who can do no harm. Generally makes my blood boil, especially when they also act like the character can't do anything wrong, and actually the characters having flaws is what makes them more interesting. Some people who hate on the women for apparently being in the way of a ship. Misogyny. All right, let's talk about the first part about woobifying characters. Woobifying characters, I don't know where this comes from. That's something else that like somebody has to have made a video about that, because it happens to real life people as well. Like woobifying K-pop stars, it's real bad. It's real bad. But woobifying characters and being like I just got reminded. Victor, the amount of people who are woobifying Victor, that's a grown ass fucking man who made grown ass man decisions. Okay, just because he is frail, and there's a lot of like ableism in that as well. Just because he is frail and he also is disabled, suddenly he can't make decisions for himself. So suddenly he's a uwu princess that needs to be taken care of. Are we talking about the same guy? Like, are we talking about the same guy who like somehow like made interdimensional like travel? Like, what are we talking about here? And it pisses me off to like no end when people do that, because it's again an insult and borderline ableism. Especially in Victor's case, it is just straight up ableism, thinking that this character cannot like do things for themselves, think for themselves, make wrong choices, do wrong things, be a little bit bad sometimes. They have to just be like an uwu cinnamon roll. And again, I think this is a lot of projection. Like, you see yourself in this character, and you may see yourself in this character in a way that's like, maybe you see them in the wrongs that they committed in that character, and that's fine. Like, you can see yourself in the flaws of a character. I think that's completely fine. But when you start to say no, because when you attack that character, I'm projecting onto this character, so therefore you're attacking me, that's where we have problems. That's where we have problems, girl. And of course, the misogyny with ships. I got a comment under my Arcane video that like took me all the way back, and it was talking about the fact that people in the fandom, not in the show, in the fandom, are being very misogynistic towards Mel because they ship Javik. And somebody came at me basically insinuating that I was problematic for not talking about the misogyny that people in the fandom are doing. At no point did I ever mention the fandom in that video. At no point did I mention the fandom in that video. So why on earth would I mention if the characters in the show were being misogynistic towards Mel because of Javik? That'd be a different story, but that's not what was happening. So why would I talk about it in a video where I was only ever talking about the characters? If I was talking about the fandom, girl, there's a lot I could say about the fandom. The way people suddenly forgot all of Caitlyn's woes and everything that she did wrong, the way that people were being misogynistic towards Mel, the way that people are treating Echo sometimes, it's really weird. It's really weird, but I was not talking about the fandom. But there is some misogyny there, but that's a whole nother can of worms. But there is a lot of misogyny when it comes to shipping gay ships, and when one of the characters in the ship was in a relationship with a woman beforehand. Misogyny does come out there, okay? I'm not sitting here saying that it doesn't, okay? I just was not talking about that in that video because I was talking about the characters themselves. And last time I checked, nobody was being misogynistic towards Mel in the show. Like, anyway, speaking of, just random tangent. Did y'all see Mel's voice actor posting Javik on May? I love her so much. People not knowing what coding is. All right, let's talk about coding, shall we? Coding is essentially where something may not be explicitly stated in canon, but it is one of those things where if you, again, just dig a little bit under the surface of the canonicity of the character in context to the actual canon of things going on, you could see that a character or a thing is a certain way. A really good example of this is Laios from Dungeon Meshi. A lot of people are like, oh, he's autistic coded. This is technically a headcanon. It's a version of a headcanon, but it's one of those headcanons where like I can sit here and say, I think Laios likes to go to Costco. That's a pure headcanon. Costco does not exist in that world, right? But saying that Laios is autistic coded, I'm saying that based off of the actual evidence from the show or from the manga, I am saying that like based off of that, I think that he is autistic. It may not be necessarily something that the author intended, and that's fine, but sometimes it happens. There was a whole debacle for some reason. One of the interviewers interviewed the author of Dungeon Meshi and asked her, hey, did you intentionally make Laios to be autistic because he's very autistic coded? And she was like, no. And people tried to use that to be like, oh, Laios is an autistic, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, babes, he's autistic coded. Nobody said he is autistic. He is autistic coded, okay? And what we mean by that is essentially that based off of his actions, the way that he acts, his personality, and everything else in between, in the actual canon of the show, a lot of people can come to the conclusion that he is autistic based off of people's autistic like realities in real life and the things that people and the way that other people, I think that's also a really big thing about Dungeon Meshi. It's not just the way Laios acts, it's the way that other people treat Laios as well that has a lot of autistic people going, this seems very familiar, okay? And again, you don't have to believe that Laios is autistic. Absolutely not. If you're like, oh, the author didn't say that that's the way that it is, fine. But you can also just like use your brain for like half a second. It's totally okay. There are a billion gajillion reasons why the author would be like, no, I didn't intend for him to be autistic, and he's not autistic. That there's a billion like cultural reasons, like their own understanding of what autism is. There's a billion gajillion different fucking reasons. Okay, that doesn't mean that somebody saying that Laios is autistic coded is wrong. That's why we say autistic coded and not just he is autistic. Okay, that is not in canon. Nobody ever says that he is. That's not canon. He is autistic coded. The language is very specific here, okay? We're not just saying this just to say it, okay? Taking different opinions on shipping theories and character interpretations as a direct attack. It's so much needless arguing and headaches and can get really nasty sometimes. I can still like the work, but I don't join fandoms that are filled with this type of negativity, which unfortunately nowadays, especially really big, like popular fandoms, tends to happen. Like there is no reason if someone, again, believes that Laios is autistic and someone believes that they're not, that you guys should be at each other's throats, okay? There's just no way. I do believe that sometimes this can come from people being a little bit like, you know, hating on disability stuff, hating on being homophobic and things like that. It can come from that sometimes, but not all the times. If you're just a normal person and you're like, hey, I'm not like, you know, against autistic people or anything, I just don't see Laios as autistic, that's fine. However, we find that a lot of people who be like, I don't see Laios as autistic, sometimes can be very, very like against disabled people. It's like really weird sometimes how like into that category and how fast it can get there. And it's like, why, like, so I'm very wary when people say stuff like that, because I'm like, yes, at the same time, you do not have to think Laios is autistic. You don't have to think any fucking headcanon is canon or whatever. But also, I do kind of look at you a little weirdly when you're giving your reasons why. When you are giving your reasons why, and your reason is because being autistic is bad, well, so lastly, let's talk about online etiquette, aka the way you should be conducting yourselves online when talking about fandom. And it most definitely is because of the pandemic, the way that people just suddenly don't know how to act online. A lot more people got into anime and other things and just aren't used to anime subcultures and things like that. And God, it gets real bad sometimes. When people post kink content in regular character or ship tags, I mostly see this on Tumblr when I'm searching for fan art. Like, yes, kink should be destigmatizing and you can draw whatever, but don't post it in the general fandom tags with no warnings. Like the mature filter, read more, and tags exist for a reason. I'm genuinely sex positive, but I don't want to see tickle art when I'm just trying to see normal fan art. Not the fucking tickle art. No, I get this. Especially like I almost nowadays cannot open Twitter or Tumblr and like on desktop while I'm like sharing my screen or anything of the sort, because the reality that I might get porn on my timeline is too high. is too high. Is too high. And I'm also a very sex positive person. Draw that fan art, girl. But also, can we put a little tag that says, hey, this is NSFW warning? For at least on Tumblr, it's a lot easier to do, which is why I believe we should all go back to Tumblr, especially now that Twitter is imploding. Can we just jump ship back to Tumblr? Like, Tumblr is a pretty cool place right now. Like, it's pretty chill. Can we go back there, especially all the fan artists, please? Please. I think Blue Sky also has a really good 18 plus like filter that like can hide things if it's 18 plus. Like, you can mark it as 18 plus, and then me as a viewer can put in my own settings, oh, this is 18 plus. If it's 18 plus, show a thing over it where I have to click a button to see it. Don't show it at all, etc., etc. I think that's great. Twitter obviously is a cesspool, so take that as you will. I know some people will hide it under spoiler tags if they're really cool like that. I sometimes see people apologizing for projecting onto characters or others, saying that a headcanon can't work because it contradicts canon. It really doesn't matter. We're playing with dolls. If I like a character, they will have the same mental disorders, fears, likes, dislikes, interests, and disabilities as me, and I will have fun. It does not matter if there's no mention of anything that could even stretch to suggest it. My Blorbo has chronic pain like me in my head. And you know what? I think that's fine. I think that's totally fine. Like I said, I have a list of headcanons for Luffy. He's just like my de facto for this video. But I have a list of headcanons for him, and half of them contradict the other. Half of them are because of things that I have experienced in my life that I think are funny, that I would say, like, this person likes to go through this, okay? I 100% agree. It's totally fine. Obviously, like I said, the issue comes when people start arguing about canon and being mad that you even have a headcanon in the first place. Like, oh. But anyway, I think that trying to project yourself onto the character. I know like kinning characters was a thing back in the day. I don't see it as much now. I know people still do it, but like it's not much of a thing now. But yeah, like if you want to do that, fucking do it. Who cares? As long as you understand that this character isn't your character and is not you. I think that's kind of like an issue that came with kinning characters. Like, people will kid a character and be like, this character is me. I am this character. And then when people do something canonically with that character or not canonically with that character, they get mad. You do not own this character. You can say that the character is you all you want to. And if you're role playing with that character, whatever, in your little space, that's fine. Don't go after other people because, let's say, they made this character smooch a girl and you don't like smooching girls. Okay, but you're not that character though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a whole can of worms. It's all complicated. Like I said, do whatever you want in the comfort of your own space, but do not like try to come at other people for doing other things with a character that is not yours. Now, I have some miscellaneous ones, like tossing characters that have no business being power scaled into power scaling discussions. Y'all know how I feel about power scaling. I hate it most of the time. It's only fun when we can talk about the actual powers that people do. Like, when people talk about power scaling, especially for One Piece, people have such cool powers in One Piece, and you're just talking about, yeah, he can defeat him, but like, how though? What, like, the only time power scaling is interesting to me when you're actually actively like, oh, because Luffy has like Gomu Gomu no whatever the fuck, and that has been proven to be what's-his-face, so then he can do that on what's-his-face, and I find it boring and annoying anyway, but you know. And of course, that brings me to, unfortunately, having to talk about sexualizing underage characters. People who will fight tooth and nail to defend sexualization of underage characters, and people who say it's not that deep to a story with bad writing. Dismissing animation as a medium and implying somehow that is lesser than live action. Whitewashing characters, not wanting to read subtext, and of course, sexualizing underage characters and pedo/incest ships. Yeah, I don't, like, all I can say to that is for you to protect yourself. If you're watching this, you probably don't ship that shit. You probably don't like lolicon or any of that freak ass shit. Protect yourself online. Protect yourself, and if you see someone else being taken advantage of online, protect them, okay? This is a community. Let's try to act like it, okay? If you see other people getting, like, dragged into that shit, whether it be an argument or whatnot, there's no arguing with these people. Like, there are literally people, oh, God. There was a tweet that went viral, or a tweet discussion that went viral, and it was just random ass account that was like, she's a fictional character, and the trying to justify sexualizing her. And that character was Anya's classmate from Spy Family. She's like 6 years old. Y'all, when I tell you, I almost lost my fucking mind. And everybody else who quote retweeted it was like, what do you find attractive about her? Quickly. Yeah. Hell. You should go to jail, then hell for all eternity. I just, you know what? Let's end this on a lighter note, shall we? I'd say that to anyone participating in fandom should remember that other fans of the work are still people, and to keep a level head about things. There's nothing wrong with disagreements or even some arguments, but flame wars and needless callouts over fandom drama and all that nonsense never made anyone enjoy a work or its fandom space more. Just kill whatever love people have for it. And I think that's a really good point to leave off on. Like I said, we are in charge of our own internet spaces and our own internet curations. At the end of the day, if someone's being annoying to you, just block them, move on. Twitter is an absolute cesspool. Here's me plugging my Blue Sky once again. It's an absolute cesspool. You do not have to deal with these people. TikTok is also getting there as well. You do not have to deal with these people. Block them, remove their comments, and move on. I am not above doing that on my own channel because I love the community that we have fostered here. And I'm not going to let some random dude bros or some random weirdos, she's 6 years old, some random weirdos like dictate my internet experience online. Okay, I want to enjoy the things that I enjoy in peace, and you should not let any fucking weirdo decide that for you. Okay, like don't protect your peace. Have fun with your characters. Like someone said in the comments, they're just little dolls we're clinking together around. All right, these are fictional characters at the end of the day. Okay, so let's protect our peace. Let's go outside and touch grass every now and then, and we can have a great 2025 talking about the things we love. Let's take a deep breath. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you did, you are a real one. Welcome to 2025. This is my first video of 2025. Hope you enjoyed. If you want me to talk about anything down below, let me know. I specifically want to talk about My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen because there's a lot there, and there's a couple of other things I want to do, like more video essay type videos on. But if you ever want me to rant in the style of this again, let me know. I'll put out a forum. We can talk about whatever, whenever. If you feel any way about the My Hero Academia ending or the Jujutsu Kaisen ending, let me know down in the comments below because I will be making videos about those. Have a glorious, lovely 2025. I can't wait to spend it with you all. Again, thanks for 10K. Hopefully I will have done my 10K stream before this video goes up. Hopefully, crossing fingers, knock on wood, you know. Hopefully. But yeah, you can join. School's gonna start up again, so I probably won't be streaming. Oh, I'll be at MagFest this year at the end of the month. So if you want to catch me at MagFest, catch me at MagFest. Okay? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Love and peace.